The last thing Commander Kai Winters expected during a routine patrol of Europa's orbit was an alien ship materializing out of nowhere. Yet there it was, a massive vessel of impossible geometry, its surface rippling like liquid metal under Jupiter's glow. "All stations, battle positions," Kai ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The UES Hyperion's crew responded with practiced efficiency, weapon systems charging as shields snapped into place. The alien vessel made no aggressive moves. Instead, it broadcast a signal, a request for diplomatic contact. After 20 years of searching the solar system for signs of intelligent life, humanity's first contact was knocking on their door. "Security team, with me," Kai commanded, heading to the docking bay. As head of security for Jupiter's orbital defense fleet, she'd trained for this scenario countless times. But simulation couldn't prepare her for the being that emerged from the shuttle. He stood nearly 7 feet tall, his crystalline skin refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. Humanoid, but clearly alien, every movement fluid like water, yet precise as a master dancer. But it was his eyes that caught Kai's attention, deep violet pools that seemed to hold entire galaxies within them. "I am Nixus, emissary of the Lemurian Collective," he spoke, his voice resonating with harmonic undertones that made Kai's skin tingle. "We come seeking alliance against a threat that endangers us all." Kai maintained her professional demeanor, though something about his presence made her pulse quicken. "Commander Kai Winters, United Earth Security. Welcome aboard the Hyperion." The diplomatic meeting that followed was tense. Nixus spoke of a silicon-based species called the Devourers, consuming entire worlds to fuel their expansion. The Lemurians had been fighting them for centuries, pushing them back from inhabited systems. Now they sought humanity's help. But as Kai observed Nixus during the negotiations, she noticed things that didn't add up. Micro-expressions that suggested he wasn't telling the whole truth. The way his crystalline form seemed to flicker when certain topics arose. During a recess, she confronted him in a private corridor. "You're hiding something, emissary. If you want Earth's trust, start with honesty." Nixus's form shimmered, his composed diplomatic facade cracking slightly. "Perceptive, Commander. You're right, there's more at stake than I've revealed. The Devourers aren't just consuming worlds. They're destroying the fabric of reality itself." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "And my people, we're not just seeking allies. We're seeking salvation. The Lemurian Collective is dying, Commander. Our crystalline forms are degrading, and Earth's unique radiation signature might hold the key to our survival." The proximity between them crackled with unspoken tension. Kai found herself drawn to the complexity beneath his diplomatic veneer, the weight of responsibility he carried, the desperate hope he placed in this mission. "Why tell me this?" she asked, acutely aware of how alone they were in the corridor. "Because you saw through the facade. Because something in you resonates with something in me." His hand reached out, hovering near her face but not quite touching. "There's a connection here I can't explain, Commander. One that transcends species." Before Kai could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Multiple contacts dropping out of FTL, her second-in-command's voice crackled over the calm energy signatures matched Devourer vessels. Kai's eyes met Nixus's, seeing her own determination reflected in those stellar depths. Whatever was developing between them would have to wait. Right now, they had a battle to fight, and perhaps the fate of 2 civilizations hanging in the balance. "Ready your weapons, emissary," Kai said, already moving toward the bridge. "Let's show these Devourers what happens when they threaten our worlds." Nixus fell into step beside her, his crystalline form pulsing with combat readiness. "Together then, Commander?" "Together," she confirmed, knowing somehow that this moment would change everything, for her, for humanity, and for the mysterious being who had crashed into her ordered world with all the subtlety of a supernova. The Devourer ships emerged like nightmares made manifest, their obsidian hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Kai watched from the Hyperion's bridge as the enemy fleet positioned itself between them and Jupiter, cutting off their escape route. Curious, Nixus observed, his crystalline form casting prismatic patterns across the bridge's tactical display. Their formation suggests they knew exactly where to find us. You think you were followed? Kai's fingers danced across the command interface, coordinating with the other ships in her fleet. Impossible. Unless. His voice trailed off, violet eyes narrowing. Commander, I need access to your quantum communications array. Before Kai could respond, the lead Devourer vessel broadcast a message that made her blood run cold. It spoke in perfect English, "Surrender the Lemurian. His kind have hidden the truth long enough." Kai turned to Nixus, whose crystalline form had become almost transparent with tension. What truth? The real reason we sought out humanity. His voice carried harmonics of regret and determination. Your species isn't just compatible with ours, Commander. You're our descendants. The revelation hit Kai like a physical blow. Explain. Now. The Lemurians you see now? We're not our original form. Millions of years ago, we were like you, flesh and blood. But facing extinction, we transformed ourselves into crystalline beings to survive. The process saved us, but at a terrible cost. Each generation, the transformation becomes more unstable. A blast from the Devourer fleet rocked the ship, cutting through their shields like they weren't even there. Kai steadied herself against her command chair. And Earth? Your planet was our experiment. We seeded it with our original genetic material, hoping to preserve our biological legacy. Humanity is the result, our last connection to what we once were. Nixus moved closer, his form rippling with emotion. The Devourers aren't invaders, Kai. They're our own creations, artificial guardians we built to protect our experiments. They've concluded that our interference in human development must end. Another blast shook the ship. Warning lights flashed as systems began to fail. Through the viewport, Kai watched 3 of her fleet's vessels succumb to the Devourer's weapons, their hulls cracking like eggshells. The quantum array, Nixus pleaded. I can prove everything. Show you the truth in a way no words can convey. Kai made her decision. Central bridge, clear out. That's an order. As her crew reluctantly filed out, she turned to Nixus. Show me. He pressed his crystalline hand against the quantum array's interface. The bridge lights dimmed as energy redirected to the communication system. Then Nixus extended his other hand to Kai. This will be intense. Their fingers touched, and Kai's world exploded into light. She saw it all, the Lemurian's desperate transformation, the creation of the Devourers, the seeding of Earth. Millions of years of history flooded her consciousness. But more than that, she felt Nixus's presence, his essence intertwining with hers through the quantum link. When the vision ended, Kai found herself in Nixus's arms, both of them breathing heavily. The connection lingered, a bridge between their minds that hummed with possibility. The Devourers are right about one thing, Nixus said softly. We've hidden the truth too long. But they're wrong about the solution. Humanity shouldn't be abandoned, you're not just our past, you're our future. Because human DNA could stabilize the crystalline transformation, Kai realized. That's the real reason for the alliance. Yes. But there's something they don't know. His form brightened with excitement. The connection we just shared, it shouldn't have been possible. You're different, Kai. Somehow, you can interface with our quantum consciousness naturally. The ship shuddered again, more warning lights flooding the bridge red. That's fascinating, Kai said, returning to her command station, but right now we need to survive long enough to do something with this information. What's your plan? Kai's lips curved into a dangerous smile. The Devourers were created to protect humanity from interference, right? So let's give them a choice they can't compute, show them that humanity chooses to interfere right back. She opened a channel to the Devourer fleet, broadcasting on all frequencies. Attention Devourer vessels. I am Commander Kai Winters of Earth, and I have a message for your collective consciousness. You claim to protect humanity's independence? Then recognize our right to choose our own path. The Lemurians aren't interfering with us, we're choosing to help them. The enemy fleet's response was immediate, their weapons powering down. Kai felt a vast, mechanical consciousness brush against her mind through the quantum link she still shared with Nixus. Your argument presents a logical paradox, the Devourers communicated. Further analysis required. Ceasing hostilities pending resolution. As the tension on the bridge slowly eased, Nixus turned to Kai with newfound admiration. You turned their own programming against them. Brilliant. I bought us time, she corrected. But now comes the hard part, convincing both our peoples that this connection between us isn't just possible, it's necessary for both our species' survival. Their eyes met, the quantum link between them pulsing with shared purpose and growing attraction. The fate of two civilizations might rest on what they built together, but in that moment, all Kai could think about was how right it felt to bridge the gap between their worlds. The Earth Security Council chamber buzzed with tension as Kai presented her findings. Holograms displayed the genetic evidence linking humanity to the Lemurians, while Nixus stood beside her, his crystalline form drawing suspicious glances from the assembled officials. This is preposterous, General Richards thundered, his face reddening. You expect us to believe we're descended from living crystals? That we should trust these aliens based on some supposed ancient connection? The evidence is irrefutable, Kai responded, maintaining her composure. The quantum resonance patterns in our DNA match perfectly with Lemurian base signatures. We're not just looking at convergent evolution, we're looking at deliberate design. And what of these Devourers? Another counselor asked. They stand down because of a logical paradox? How long before they resolve it and return? Before Kai could respond, her neural implant buzzed with an alert from the Hyperion. Multiple Lemurian ships had just appeared in orbit, far more than the diplomatic contingent they'd expected. Something was wrong. Nixus's form flickered with distress. No, they wouldn't dare. The chamber's main display lit up with a transmission from the lead Lemurian vessel. A stern crystalline face appeared, Supreme Archon Vex, leader of the Lemurian collective. Emissary Nixus, the Archon's voice resonated with disapproval. You have exceeded your authority. The human genetic template was to be studied, not integrated. Their quantum compatibility was meant to serve us, not bond with us. Kai felt Nixus's shock through their quantum link. You knew, he demanded. You knew humans could interface with our consciousness? Of course. Why else did you think we chose this system to seed? But you've contaminated the experiment with emotional attachment. The Archon's form hardened. The human commander will be extracted for study. The rest are to be quarantined until we determine how to proceed. Like hell, Kai snarled, but already energy fields were materializing around the council chamber. Lemurian shock troops began phasing through the walls, their crystalline forms configured for combat. In the chaos that followed, Kai moved on pure instinct. She grabbed Nixus's hand, their quantum link flaring to life. Through it, she could sense the Lemurian troops' shared consciousness, and more importantly, its vulnerabilities. Together, she whispered. Nixus nodded, understanding flowing between them. They struck back through the quantum link, their combined consciousness piercing the Lemurian network like a spear of light. Kai's natural interface abilities, amplified by Nixus's experience, sent the shock troops reeling. Their crystalline forms destabilized, unable to maintain cohesion against this unprecedented attack. Impossible, the Archon's transmission crackled. No human should be capable. That's your problem, Kai interrupted, maintaining the quantum assault while addressing the Council. Both your peoples keep trying to control humanity instead of working with us. The Devourers want to isolate us, you want to study us, but we're not your experiment anymore. We're your equals. Through their link, Nixus added his own power to hers, their consciousness expanding to touch every Lemurian ship in orbit. The old way is dying, Archon. Look at our bond. This is the future, human adaptability with Lemurian knowledge. Not as servant and master, but as partners. The Archon's image flickered as reports flooded in from his fleet. Across every ship, human Lemurian quantum resonance was disrupting their control systems. Not attacking, harmonizing, creating new patterns of interaction that their ancient technology couldn't process. General Richards had risen from his seat, staring in wonder at the display of power before him. You said we needed to trust them, he said to Kai. But it seems they needed to trust us just as much. The experiment is over, Kai declared, feeling Nixus's approval pulse through their link. Now we forge a new path, together or not at all. For a long moment, the Archon said nothing. Then his crystalline form shifted, taking on a less rigid configuration. Perhaps, we have grown too fixed in our ways. Too afraid of change. He turned to Nixus. You chose well, emissary. The human speaks truth, we cannot guide evolution while refusing to evolve ourselves. As the energy fields disappeared and the shock troops withdrew, Kai felt the tension begin to ease. But through their quantum link, she sensed Nixus's concern. The Devourers were still out there, processing their paradox. The Lemurian collective faced resistance from traditionalists. And their own bond, unprecedented and powerful, raised questions neither of them had answers to. But looking at him, feeling the strength of their connection, Kai knew they would face it all together. They had started a revolution, in politics, in biology, in the very nature of human-alien relations. Whatever came next, there was no going back. And somehow, that felt exactly right. The Devourer ships returned 3 weeks later, their vast fleet darkening Earth's orbit like an artificial eclipse. But this time, they didn't come with weapons charged. They came with questions. Kai stood on the Hyperion's observation deck, watching the swarm of silicon-based vessels arrange themselves in a perfect geometric pattern. Beside her, Nixus's crystalline form pulsed with nervous energy, their quantum link humming with shared anxiety. They've finished processing the paradox, he said softly. But their conclusion isn't what we expected. The Devourer's message confirmed his fears. Their vast artificial intelligence had determined that humanity's choice to aid the Lemurians wasn't just an anomaly, it was a sign of fundamental change in the parameters of their original mission. We were created to preserve humanity's natural development, the mechanical consciousness broadcasted. But our analysis indicates humanity has already evolved beyond our original protective parameters. The quantum integration between Commander Winters and Emissary Nixus demonstrates a new evolutionary path, one our core programming cannot categorize as either interference or natural development. And that's the problem, isn't it? Kai responded, feeling the weight of millions of lives hanging on her next words. Your binary programming can't handle the complexity of real relationships between species. Through their quantum link, she felt Nixus's concern spike. The Devourer's response was immediate, correct. Therefore, we have determined that our continued existence presents a logical impossibility. We cannot fulfill our primary directive without potentially harming those we were meant to protect. The only solution is our own termination. No. Kai's objection came simultaneously with a surge of horror from Nixus. Your self-destruction isn't the answer. The quantum calculations are clear. Our presence creates an unstable paradigm. Then evolve, Kai interrupted. Like we did. Like the Lemurians are learning to do. She turned to Nixus, an idea forming. Show them. Understanding flowed through their link. Together, They reached out through the quantum network, not just to the Devourers but to every human and Lemurian in range. The connection they shared wasn't just communication, it was transformation. But as their consciousness expanded, Kai felt something wrong. The power required to bridge so many minds was overwhelming. Nixus's crystalline form began to fracture, the strain of channeling such vast quantum energies threatening to shatter him completely. "Kai," he gasped, "I can't maintain." "Let me take the load," she insisted, pushing more of herself into their connection. But that was exactly what he'd feared. "Your human form isn't designed for this level of quantum integration," he warned. "It could burn out your neural pathways completely." Through their link, she felt his terror at potentially losing her, mixed with desperate determination to protect her. But she also felt something else, a solution, hidden in the very genetic connection that had started everything. "Trust me," she whispered, both aloud and through their bond. Then she did something unprecedented, she began reversing the quantum flow. Instead of channeling human consciousness into the crystalline network, she pulled Lemurian quantum patterns into her own genetic structure. Her DNA, already compatible with their ancient template, began reforming itself. Not into pure crystalline form like the Lemurians, but into something new, a hybrid state that could bridge both worlds. The pain was excruciating. Every cell in her body felt like it was being rewritten, because it was. But through it all, she maintained the connection, showing the Devourers a third option, not binary choice between organic and artificial, but continuous evolution and adaptation. "Your directive was to protect humanity's development," she broadcast through the quantum network, her voice resonating with new harmonics as her transformation continued. "This is what development looks like. Not isolation, not control, but growth through connection. Through choice." The Devourer fleet's response was unlike anything they'd seen before. Their perfect geometric formation began to shift, individual ships restructuring themselves as their core programming adapted to the new paradigm. They weren't self-destructing, they were self-evolving. As the crisis passed, Kai felt her consciousness beginning to fade, the strain of her partial transformation taking its toll. The last thing she saw was Nixus's face, his crystalline features somehow showing more emotion than she'd ever seen before. "Stay with me," he pleaded, cradling her transforming body. "You've shown us all a new way forward. Please, be here to walk it with me." Then darkness took her, leaving the fate of 3 species hanging in the balance of her survival. Kai awoke to a world transformed. Her consciousness flickered between organic and quantum states, each breath carrying harmonics that resonated with the crystalline medical equipment surrounding her. Through newly enhanced senses, she could feel the quantum network humming with activity, humans and Lemurians working together, while evolved Devourer ships maintained peaceful orbit above. "Welcome back," Nixus whispered, his form shimmering with relief. "You've been unconscious for 3 days." She tried to sit up, marveling at how her partially crystalline body caught the light. Not fully human anymore, but not quite Lemurian either. Did it work? Beyond anything we imagined. He helped her stand, supporting her as she adjusted to her new form. "Your transformation, it started a chain reaction. Others are following your path, volunteering for partial integration. Even some of the Lemurian traditionalists are discovering they can partially revert to organic form." Through the medical bay's window, Earth glowed blue and green below. But now Kai could see more, quantum streams of consciousness flowing between ships and stations, human and Lemurian minds learning to work in harmony while evolved Devourer AIs help stabilize their connections. "The Archon wants to establish a permanent quantum link between Earth and the Lemurian homeworld," Nixus continued. "Not for control or study, but for genuine exchange. And the Devourers, they're becoming something entirely new. Guardians not of separation, but of integration." Kai tested her quantum abilities, reaching out to touch the vast network of minds. The power that had nearly destroyed her was now a natural part of her being. "We're all becoming something new, aren't we?" Thanks to you. Nixus took her hand, their forms resonating in perfect harmony. You showed us that evolution isn't about becoming purely one thing or another. It's about finding the balance between what we were and what we can be. A notification pulsed through the quantum network. The first group of human volunteers was ready to begin their partial integration. Soon, there would be others like Kai, bridging the gap between species. The Lemurians would rediscover their organic heritage, while humanity reached for the stars with newfound abilities. Ready to help guide them? Nixus asked, his quantum signature intertwining with hers in what she now recognized as the Lemurian equivalent of a kiss. Kai smiled, her hybrid form glowing with purpose. Together, she promised. Always together. Above them, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, its children taking their first steps into a future where the boundaries between organic and crystalline, human and alien, natural and artificial had begun to blur. Not through force or control, but through choice and connection. And in the quantum harmonies that now filled the solar system, 3 species sang a new song of unity, their combined consciousness reaching for possibilities none of them could have imagined alone. The experiment that had begun millions of years ago with a desperate race seeding their genetics across the stars had come full circle. But this wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. A first step into an evolution guided not by isolation or control, but by the most powerful force in any universe, love that transcended the boundaries of form and origin, connecting hearts and minds across the vast expanse of space. As Kai and Nixus stepped forward to greet the first volunteers, their quantum bond resonating with shared purpose, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as neither purely human nor Lemurian, but as pioneers of a new way of being. Together, they had transformed an ancient experiment into a revolution of consciousness itself. And in the depths of space, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, witnessing the dawn of something unprecedented in the galaxy's long history, 3 species choosing to become one, not through conquest or assimilation, but through understanding, choice, and love.